a little long though, but I'll cut it down. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjanaya Jamuna Tira Vanachariyam Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjanaya Jamuna Tira Vanachariyam Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjanaya Jamuna Tira Vanachariyam Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Astoro Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Astoro Shishimat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन नवदीप धाम की Gangamai Jamunamai ki. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're reading from the Transcendental Diary, Volume 3, Chapter 4, London. July 27th, 1976. I'll paraphrase some of the aspects of the diary by Hari Suri, and I'll also add from the other sastras, from the scriptures also from time to time. So some things that I'm going to be saying are not mentioned in the diary itself. So I kind of like to also quote from the scriptures, supporting the points that Hari Suri Prabhu has made. So July 27, 1976, once more Prabhupada spent a quiet day avoiding too much physical activity. He remained in his room during the deity greeting, Guru Puja and class. But he allowed Jaitirtha and Bhagavan Prabhus to come in his room for a relaxed discussion while the other devotees carried on the program without him. This is not meant for us, but we're meant to be here. It's very important to be in the Guru Puja. If you want to really make spiritual advancement, you should not miss the Guru Puja. Both the morning Mangal Arati, we're singing the Guru Vastikam, that is to your spiritual master. And then we worship Prabhupada. So you mustn't miss the both. It's very important. But he was giving association to his disciples, and we'll see the discussion that ensues from that association he was giving his disciples. George Harrison visit prompted some talk about artists. Now, if you're an artist, don't take it the wrong way, but this is very interesting. Prabhupada explained that in India, the artistic class are considered Sudras. Sudras. Not a very high class profession. He said 100 years ago, Girish Chandra Ghosh tried to introduce theatrical performances with both men and women actors in imitation of the Europeans. So in Vedic times and in South Africa in the early years, in the 60s and 70s, Bhakti Mataji will know, if you're around our age, in Indian families, even the ladies would not come in the, where men are speaking, they would be in the kitchen all the way in the background. That was the culture. And secondly, that if anybody was participating in a play, even it was the Ramayana with Sita, they were female, the men were acting. I watched many of them when we were growing up. So it was done like that in the earlier years, but things have changed now. So when he wanted to invite women to participate in the theatrical performances, nobody responded. No women. Quite interesting. No women responded. Because who will go into the public stage and dance A respectable girl doesn't do that. But that was 100 years, that is 100 years ago. So then Prabhupada was recalling 40 years ago, when he was speaking in 1976, 40 years ago, he knew of a respectable family who rejected the notion of teaching their daughter to sing and dance. See, when girls were meant to be married, then the boys' side go and approach that's the etiquette, right? The boys' side has to go to the girl's house and then approach the family members that they want to get married. That's the system. And then, anyway, Prabhupada was recalling one of his friends' daughter, who was a very beautiful girl. And his friend's name was Mukunda Mati. And Mukunda Mati's daughter was a very beautiful girl. This is how Prabhupada said it. And when the family members came, one person raised the question, can she sing and dance? And that man, one of the family members, the uncle, he got very upset. He was very upset. How could you ask something like that? Because respectable people don't do that. How could you ask something like that? And he was upset. Actually, dancing, what is this nonsense? This is how that person, for a respectable family, it is meant for the low-class professional. Pay them, they will dance, or go to some prostitute, she will dance. But this is not for a cultured girl. Because the culture, now, that may not be applicable in other parts of the world, and even that we have to get clear. But even in South Africa, we growing up, we experience that. This was not the system. So he was very upset. But now it has become a fashion amongst aristocratic family. They should join this cinema and then they spoil their whole character. You find, they embracing other men, and it's just not good. And Prabhupada was actually referring to George Harrison, which we read earlier on. And George Harrison was an artist, a musician. But last night I was trying to reconcile this fact, and I was looking at the Nectar of Instruction, and Prabhupada talks about George Harrison. He said, one of our friends, a famous English musician, has become attracted to chanting the holy names of Krishna. And even his records has several times mentioned the holy name of Krishna. At his home, he offers respects to pictures of Krishna and also to the preachers of Krishna consciousness. In all regards, he has a very high estimation for Krishna's name and Krishna's activities. Therefore, we offer respects to him without reservation, for we are actually seeing that this gentleman is advancing gradually in Krishna consciousness. Such a person should always be shown respect. The conclusion is that anyone who is trying to advance in Krishna consciousness by regularly chanting the holy name should always be respected by the Vaishnavas. Get it? So you reconcile it like that. I was thinking, and last night I picked it up in the Nectar of Instruction. So yes, that culture applied 100 years ago. And in some families, like if you go down on the north coast, it still applies. It still applies. Just like one lady who passed away recently, my mother, Sudha Sattva, whom I knew very well. Just recently she passed away. And she's a very cultured lady. Extremely cultured. And she looked after the father-in-law till about 90 years old. Very cultured lady. You would never see her in the forefront. Always in the background. Yeah. Anyway, this is in Bombay, when Prabhupada was in Bombay, and Yadubar, he recalled, a number of incidents when he filmed Prabhupada, and one of them was when he was on the rooftop of the apartment of the land of Juhu. When the temple is, you'll see like There was a flat place on the top. And Prabhupada would speak there, he would speak because maybe late in the evenings or when it was little twilight, you would say he would speak. But I remember once there was some young girls, came to garland him. And later when, Yadubal Prabhu says that, and they were dancing, after that they were dancing, but Prabhupada had his hand in his bead bag. But he never looked at the girls. So this way, you're showing the ideal example of a sannyasi. Like once I remember there was a very good dancer, one of our devotees who was dancing in Port Shepstone somewhere. But one sannyasi was there and he was looking down. So he was, one has to be cautious. There's so many things I could speak on the subject matter, but we may not have that amount of time to say it. But just to make the point that how cultured females are and how you treat them and how you interact with them, these are all given in the scriptures. Sometimes people criticize, Krishna had a lot of girlfriends. We often hear that. And there in the Rajasuya sacrifice, that was conducted by, where Maharaj Yudhishthira was there. And somebody remarked, and I'll read this thing, I just picked it up. When Krishna was being elected as president for the Rajasuya Yagya assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthira, so somebody remarked, this man, because those who are blind, they would see Krishna as an ordinary man. So he's a woman hunter from the very beginning. So how can he be elected? But Bhishma Deva was there, and he was like the most celebrated celibate monk, the brahmachari. And he never accepted a wife, he had no connection with women. But he immediately stood up and he said, I am celebrated to the whole world as a brahmachari. But if I would have been in the position of Krishna, he was dancing with a young girl, but he was not agitated, but I would have been agitated, I admit. Therefore, he is Adira. But this is not in the diary. This is Prabhupada speaking somehow. He's Adira. He was dancing with a young girl, but he was not agitated. But I would have been agitated, I admit. Therefore, he's Dhira. He should be elected. So you find, Krishna dancing with these young girls, the Ras Leela, that is not something mundane or like people think it's like having a sexual relationship. It's nothing to do like that. And Prabhupada quotes the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nunam Pramati Kuruta Vikarma. This is a very famous verse which Prabhupada quotes often. Anything which is done for sense gratification is vikarma. So most people are engaged in this. Everywhere, all over the world, education, the scientific advancement, culture, everything. Now culture means dancing. Good culture for the Hare Krishnas. It's good. I was just thinking this morning, Madhuri asked me to sing. The thing is, it's about singing, but there's also dancing. And dancing is one of the signs of advancement. The first signs of somebody who's advancing. But you'll see people running away there in the back. So? But that's the first sign of dancing. Now it has become a culture. And what is that dancing? Sense gratification. Boys and girls, they go to ballroom dancing. This is sense gratification. So this this verse from the 5th canto, Nunam Pramati Kuruto Vikarma, we should always remember that we mustn't get engrossed or entangled in sense gratification. That is vikarma. But then when you're dancing before the deity, that is bhakti. But that same dancing, but it's different when you're dancing before the deity. You get it? You dance in a theatrical performance in a platform, that is also dancing. And here in this stage before the deity, that's also dancing, but there's a difference. So some people think, hey, these people are off, they're dancing. And we heard, people criticize us for that. Then Prabhupada gets again into the discussion of George Harrison. Using George as an example, Prabhupada acknowledged the fact, explaining, somehow or the other, get money, you become a big man. There is no question of culture or anything. That is stated in Bhagavad. Money will be the criterion, no family, culture, education. These things will not be taken into account. If you got money, then you are a big man. Never mind what you are. So it's not dependent on the qualities of the person, it's dependent on the money. People like sometimes they marry an old person, his one leg is on the banana peel, he's just about to go to the grave. It's true. And they get so much of wealth. So that also happens. But in India, they even up till now, nowadays in modern times, well, in general, boys, the parents would choose the girl. But now that's absent. But still in many parts of India, it's still going on. It's still going on. We have to wait for you to finish. Yeah. So yes, so nowadays, sometimes they have meeting, the girls and boys meet on their own. So in India, what the boys do, they come with a bicycle or an auto rickshaw to see the girl. And they bring a bunch of flowers. So now the girl who sees this boy coming with this auto rickshaw and bicycle, it's a way now to test whether the girl really, is interested or not. When you see him like this now, the bicycle, I'm not going to travel in a bicycle. So this is the way to do it now. It's true. And in some cases, the girls would say, they still, want to marry the person despite the wealth or whatever. There are people like that. But in general, in most cases, the person looking, you have a flashy car, what's your financial status? There's so much I can talk about that subject matter. There's a very important subject matter, but some other time. But that's how, and Prabhupada is bringing that point. He said, yes, this is how people are now, that they are judged on the basis of how much wealth they have. But the real wealth is Krishna consciousness. Actually, when you don't have money, you're favored. When you don't have facility and money, you are favored by Krishna. But you couldn't look at it like that. As much as we want money, sometimes like we running around, trying to get money. But like even for myself, trying to go and collect and do some building. But when it doesn't come, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't have that attachment for it. Don't bother about it. Therefore, people are after money. Who is going to be a Brahman? If you become a perfect Brahman, who will care for you? Because when you become a Brahmana is a pauper generally. This is how Brahmins are known. Even in South Africa, we had people would come to our homes. They would, an old man would come. He would use his dhoti and come. He'll sit down, and he will talk about Ram or the Leelas from from morning, maybe like from in the afternoon, he can speak till the next morning, and he just goes away. Now he's not asking for anything. This is a Brahmana. So samodapas tapas socham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astakyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, truthfulness, all this, and religiousness, wisdom, these are the qualities of a Brahmana. And these are the qualities we must try to develop. And so nobody is interested in becoming a Brahmana, Prabhupada says. Why we shall become Brahmana? For starvation? Nowadays the colleges, they are not interested in art, philosophy, English literature, for they go to technical, meaning they go to technical school. How? They will get more money. Maybe, become technical, like engineers and things like that. You'll get more money. But that's now being replaced by AI. Maybe the only professions you can have is teaching and brain surgery or something like that. So yes, Sri Raghunath ki jai. And Prabhupada also spoke of one of his God brothers, Bon Maharaj. He had an institute, and this institute is suffering. Why? Because he said, I'll read it. And Bon Maharaj, his institute is suffering from the very beginning till now, simply begging, and paying the professor, no students. First of all, he started Vaishnava philosophy, so doctorate, PhD, so especially in India, who is going to take staff PhD in Vaishnava philosophy? This is how it's written. So this is failure. It is already a failure, but he is persistent. But although it's the right thing to do, is to study the scriptures, but people are not going to take to this, which is the right thing. So education is also already on the decline. And then one of Prabhupada's disciples, he interjected and he said, but we are not starving. And then Prabhupada says, why we shall starve? Because Krishna is providing everything, just come, have some prasadam, chant Hare Krishna, but do some service. He didn't say that, but also you must do some service. Very important. This is good, chanting, dancing and taking prasadam is good, but you have to do some practical stuff. Okay, let's skip that. And the discussion is on about Lenin, and I'll just read a little bit. He explained that even if people criticize us that Krishna cannot be seen, we reverse that argument. You do not see Lenin, why you are worshipping? Is Lenin present before you? This was like a Russian leader. So why are you worshipping? Because they have statues of them. And then Prabhupada says, like that, yes, they had this like kind of deities of these people, in deity form. Lenin, but even in India, Jawaharlal Nehru and Gandhi were, their tombs were there also. And not many people go to it. In the beginning, there were people going to it, and nobody goes. But in Vrindavan, you see, Prabhupada saying in Vrindavan, the Govindiji temple, Krishna Balram temple, without invitation, there is a crowd. And there's a big crowd. So this is the culture. There's some very interesting points, but I have to skip a lot because it's too long. So it goes on to, then Prabhupada started discussing about, actually the discussion was with a Mayavadi Swami. A Mayavadi Swami, Satya Amrita Ananda, visited Prabhupada about 11 a.m. Prabhupada, received him in the airy presence of his darshan room. They conversed in Hindi together, exchanging some preliminary niceties as the Swami got seated. He was friendly and complimentary about Srila Prabhupada's work and ISKCON. He had visited the manor and once before, and wherever he traveled, he visited ISKCON centers and tried to help. And some months back, he received our devotees at his ashram in Haridwar, and he said he knew Brahmananda, having met him in Mombasa, that's Kenya. And he asked how Srila Prabhupada was. So Srila Prabhupada was coughing and he was a little sick. And he explained to this Swami. So he was planning to open a small center in London. And he's suggesting to Prabhupada that they could work together. And Prabhupada, he was cordial and, but he showed no enthusiasm to his proposal. He just kind of relaxed. Because he said, our preaching is for Krishna. And then he quoted the Bhagavatam, Eta Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. What's the next one? Inriyari Vaikulam Lokam Mirdanti Yuge Yuge. Because we worship Krishna because he is the absolute truth. All the others are his plenary portions or expansions, but we worship Krishna. So he's quoting the scripture and he's explaining this Swami. He quoted just a few lines, the first two lines he quoted. But he said they are not accepting. They are saying that we are sectarian. They are thinking that Krishna and all the other gods are the same. They believe everybody is God, but we don't believe. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. We don't agree with what you all are saying. So the Swami, the Mayavad Swami, he admitted there were differences. Then Prabhupada said, but he still thought, they could work together. But Prabhupada said, so if there are differences, then how can we work together? Because we have differences in philosophy. Therefore, even amongst ourselves, if somebody deviates from the philosophy, it's very difficult to put them right. It's almost impossible. This is how it is. So therefore, we have to follow the scriptures. So we can't work together. And Prabhupada was a little direct to them. We don't believe in hodgepodge. He is God, they are God, we are God, and all gods are the same. Then the Swami started speaking about the Devatas. I'm paraphrasing it. Then Prabhupada counteracts that and he said, but that's for the less intelligent. He yeah. But then Prabhupada said, Prabhupada considered it is there. It is not that no worship is allowed, but a person who is doing the worship, he is murkha or less intelligent. And Satyamrita Ananda quoted a few Sanskrit slokas. Better establish his case, and Prabhupada shook his head in polite disagreement. That is another discussion. If I say something, you will get angry. So I don't want to say more. So yes, it's how you deal with people that have differences of opinion. We can be kind to them. We can offer them some prasadam. We don't need to get into a philosophical discussion with them because both of you all may not know a lot. Not only the other person. Both of you all may not know a lot to, properly present the philosophy. Then it goes on, and Prabhupada, but still, Prabhupada said, I simply accept whatever is in scripture. And then he quoted this verse again, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. And he said, we cannot compromise this. Then Prabhupada also kind of elaborated on the point that, yes, we accept the devatas, we don't disregard them, we don't disrespect them, we offer them respects. And then he quoted Tinadapi Sunichena, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We show respect even to an ant. But we respect all, but Krishna is the all in all. And he quoted Brahma Samhita, other verses, Bhagavad Gita 9:10. What's the verse? Mairiksane prakriti suyate se characharam heitine kuntaya jagad vipalvartate. You must know these verses, because he constantly speaks about these verses, and it's supporting the statements you make. And everything is working under the direction of Krishna. So Prabhupada dealt with Mayavadis differently. Once on the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Bombay, one lady had come, and she was a follower of one well-known Mayavadi guru. And during that conversation on the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, she gave her interpretation of Krishna's word. And you know what she said? In Sanskrit, the word Krishna means dark. So this is called Guru, had written that Krishna means dark. Dark what? Dark means unknown. And so if the Absolute is unknowable, unmanifested, and supreme, this is what the lady is presenting. So Prabhupada was very quick. He fired back. He said, well, if it's dark, it means unknown. And if Krishna is unknowable, then he does not know Krishna. Isn't it? It's very logical. He doesn't know Krishna. So why is he commenting on Krishna's words? This is not in the diary, this is somewhere else. The Bhagavad Gita. Why is he quoting? So he said that Krishna says that his devotee can know him. So because this man is not a devotee, he cannot know Krishna. Only a devotee can comment on Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada is very expert. He just destroyed this lady. So there's so many different interpretations of the Gita. So many people got their own ideas. Once I was speaking, trying to convince a boy, maybe for about, it was a 36-hour journey, maybe for almost 18 to 20 hours. And he couldn't get it. Till we're just about to reach the destination, he said, give me the beats. And he just started chanting like anything, non-stop. Yeah, but we have to present the philosophy. Another time in Rishikesh, there was a Mayavadi yogi there, and he had followers. And Srila Prabhupada was there, and a lot of people started getting attracted to Srila Prabhupada. And then that yogi didn't know what to do. He sent one of his followers, he said, and one of his followers came, and this is what he said: Swamiji, you are ill, so you should take rest now and not exert yourself in this way, or you will not be able to easily recover. But what Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was pleased with that. He said, he was indirectly admitted his defeat. It's quite, yeah. So anyway, this Swami, his discussion goes on to, many, many other things, but we won't be able to speak on all. And Prabhupada quotes backward, forward about Bhagavad Gita. And again, he brings Krishna's to Bhagavan Swami. He quotes this verse like 2 or 3 times, establishing that Krishna is the original personality of God, the absolute truth. But then this Mayavad Swami asked again, if we consider Ram to be just Balaram, so he's raising that point. And Prabhupada told him, no, we say that Ram is also Ram as well as Balaram, since Ram is also Bhagavan. Our temple in Bombay will have Sita Ram. And then he quotes a Brahma Samhita verse. But then again he says, Krishna's too, Bhagavan Swayam. This is like almost the 4th time. So that these verses are quoted to establish, Krishna's position as the absolute truth. So Hari Ram refers both to Sri Balaram and Lord Ramachandra. And when I was looking at I remember this was in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where an incident took place between two sannyasis. They were preaching in Hyderabad. And one of them said Hari Ram refers to Sri Balaram, and the other protested. No, Hari Ram means Lord Ram. So then they brought it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, and he gave his decision. And if someone says that Ram in Hari Ram is Lord Ramachandra, and someone else says that Ram in Hari Ram is Sri Balaram, both are correct because there is no difference between Sri Balaram and Lord Ram. Those who are aware of the Vishnu Tattva do not fight over this little detail. He quoted this in the purport to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 5, text 132. That was a quotation. So they moved into a lighter subject, and then he started, the Swami was talking about Muslim followers, whether Prabhupada had any Muslim followers or preached to Muslim people. He said he had one person from Iran, and he named him Atre Rishi, and he's following the regulative principles very strictly. And he wanted to know whether he's wearing dhoti, kurta, all this. He said, yes, all these things. He's following the principle, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. So he was appreciating Prabhupada. Anyway, there's more discussion, but now we're coming to the point of where Mukunda introduced Srila Prabhupada to Mike Robinson, and he was a young interviewer from the London Broadcasting Company. So this discussion with Mike Robinson is there. There's a discussion of Mike Robinson in the science of self-realization. And I was thinking whether it's the same discussion. When I checked it out, it's not. There were two separate discussions. In 75 and 76 or somewhere like that. But it's two separate discussions. And this discussion is quite an interesting discussion. By deflecting a question about the history of the movement to Mukunda, Prabhupada made it clear he wanted to speak on the philosophy at the outset. Mike was quick to adjust, because sometimes people come prepared, and sometimes as devotees we prepare a class, but when you look at the audience, you have to change it. But they say the same things because you prepared it. But sometimes you have to change it, And you may not have to say all the things that are probably confidential also, depending on the audience. So Prabhupada, this person was quick to change it, to adjust, and he would interview Mukunda separately afterwards. He then asked Srila Prabhupada, can you tell me what you believe? What is the philosophy of the Hare Krishna movement? Prabhupada corrected him that there is no question of belief. Krishna consciousness was a science. As proof, he explained the process of transmigration of the soul, and he said Harikesh to read out the Bhagavad Gita, verse 220. What's the verse? Na jayate miryate vaka jatin, nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya. Ajo nitya sasvatayam purana, na hanyate hanyamane sarire. For the soul is neither birth at any or death at any time. It does not come into being, will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing. He is primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. You have to know this thing. These verses. So Mike asked, so can you explain to me just a bit more if the soul is undying? Does everybody's soul go to be with God when they die? And this is what people believe. Oh, after death, he's gone back to God. He's well off now. Do you hear this? Do you hear this? What do you think of that? Has he gone back to God yet? He died in his sleep, such a peaceful death. But dying in your sleep is dying in ignorance. Yes. Then Prabhupada, explained, if the person qualifies, otherwise he will transmigrate. And he spoke about karma and the 8,400,000 species of life. You can go into any species of life. Just like you may not know, there's so many different bodies. Just like there's so many different countries. You don't know the country. You haven't been there, but they already exist. So the bodies already exist. And one just enters into a particular body according to karma. So we are free to choose now this is Mike Robinson. So we are free to choose insofar as what we believe important. Religion is important because if we believe in God and live a good life. So Prabhupada interrupted by repeating what he said at the outset. Don't bring the question of belief. It is law. Just like there is government, you believe or not believe, who cares for you? That is government. So that is the law. Then there's other parts to the discussion, and Prabhupada was talking about his movement and how he wanted to educate. His mission was to educate people. Then the discussion was on the soul. How he explains how the soul is carried by the subtle body into the next body. That discussion, which you're probably familiar with. Then Mike said, so if I gain Krishna consciousness, I wouldn't have to have the threat of coming as a dog or something like that. So he was afraid, because people are afraid about entering lower species of life. If you get a dog's body or a cat's body, it's a lower form of life. But there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it's mentioned about Sivananda Sen. And Sivananda Sen, he had a dog. And a stray dog came and joined him. And he maintained the dog. So one day the dog needed to go across the river. So an Orison boatman would not allow the dog to get into the boat. So Sivananda Sen, in that time, he paid the boatman so that the dog could cross the river. So Sivananda Sen was once detained by a tall man, and his servant forgot to give the dog its cooked rice. But at night when Sivananda Sen, when he returned, he was taking his meal. So he first thing inquired, has the dog eaten his meals? But when he learned that the dog had not eaten his meals, he was not happy. And then the dog, he wanted the servants to go look for the dog. So he sent like about 10 men to find the dog. And then he fasted the whole night. And then in the morning they couldn't find the dog, but then when they saw Lord Chaitanya, the dog was with Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya was feeding him coconut pulp. So it's quite interesting that sometimes the lowest species of life is getting so much more mercy than a human being. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was encouraging the dog to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And they were shocked that that the dog could do it, chanting the holy names. But the next day the dog left its body and it went back to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. This is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada, in one of his purport, he quotes that, sadhu sangha is so important that even a dog could get the mercy of a Vaishnava. So therefore, every one in the human form of life should be induced to associate with devotees and encourage other people to chant the holy name, dance, take prasadam, and preach Krishna consciousness. It's very, very important for us. Like you can see that this animal, just by engaging or associating with the devotees, he went back to Godhead. Recall when in the early years in Phoenix, we should have Janmashtami programs, maybe like 35, 40 years ago. And one dog followed us throughout the Harinam. And then we were singing and we were just walking, and the dog followed us throughout the Harinam and then left. So yes, it's important to give association to lower species. And it's scary to become a dog in the next life. If we don't know, doesn't mean now what I'm saying now, hey, and pray I become a dog. No. But if you become a dog in a Vaishnava's house, it may be a little different. And there was two incidents. One, a lady who lived in the edge of a beach, this is probably in America, had a German Shepherd. And every day when Srila Prabhupada would walk, the German Shepherd came out and ran around him and sometimes even like grazed his leg and touched him. But in Vedic culture, dogs are not meant to touch you and all, Like once I was traveling with in America, and there was a dog and the Swami was sitting in the front and the dog was there. And I made sure the dog didn't touch me. Because it's unclean. But yeah, we see Prabhupada, the dog would graze him, he would just leave the dog. So Prabhupada just kept walking. So one day the dog ran between Srila Prabhupada's legs, and then the devotees became upset, were petrified. So they were thinking whether we should chase the dog, but Srila Prabhupada just chuckled, he didn't worry, because there was like a special type of rasa between the dog and Prabhupada. Then the day after, that dog disappeared. And the owner knew that this dog was going with the devotees. And asking the devotees, but they said no, they never see the dog, so the dog just disappeared. Then, there's another, we have to talk about cats also. So there was Govinda Dasi, then she found kittens on the side of the road. So she brought them and came to the temple and gave them milk. And she named one of them Nimbarka Das Brahmachari. How's that name? We have two cats here, but the names are Grey and Ginger, according to the colors. Yeah. So one day, Prabhupada went to the kitchen in the back door to have a walk in the yard. The kitten was there and it just touched the foot of Prabhupada and went away. It was on his way, went away. So what the devotees did, now they took the cat and they gave it to the neighbor. The kitten, gave it to the neighbor, and next day the kitten died. So we can see from these examples that yes, these are not mentioned in his diary, this is mentioned in by the devotees, other devotees. The special encounter, like these lower species have with great souls, what their destination could be. We can well imagine. So yeah. So we'll stop here. I got a few minutes to take some questions, but there's more to it. I can't discuss the other things. I think we'll have to stop here. Oh yeah, I'll mention this. This is something. I was listening to a lecture last night. And it was quite an interesting lecture. And this lecture was given in London. It's talking about, how we were talking about, in the material energy, the spiritual energy. And this is what Prabhupada said. You are under the clutches of Maya. You have no independence. Neither anyone has got any independence to save you. That is not possible. The same example I gave sometime, that you learn how to drive aeroplane. So you go high in the sky, but if you are in danger, no other aeroplane can help you. You are finished. Therefore, you must be a very careful pilot to take care of yourself. So recently, there was this plane that crashed in Ahmedabad. And in Ahmedabad, they were going to London. And our discussion today was on London. And this lecture was given by Prabhupada in London in 1973, talking about how you won't get any help. But the only survivor of it was maybe there were a few survivors or some survivor, but at least they found the Bhagavad Gita somebody was carrying on that plane that was not burnt, and they were paging through it. Yesterday, I watched it yesterday. So, only Krishna can save you. And then and in that lecture he says, and actually Krishna gives you protection always, not your society, friendship and love. They will be finished. As your father is finished, as your grandfather is finished, similarly your son, grandson will be finished. None of them will be able to give you protection. Only Krishna will be giving you protection. Therefore you surrender to Krishna. Sarvadharman parityaja, mam ekam saranam vraja, aham tam save papibhyo mokshasyami masuchaha. He didn't complete it because it did, we just stopped at moksha. So only Krishna can protect you. So we should take advantage of the temple and get more involved and help to serve Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? You say something and share you'd like to share anything is also okay. What do you think? Nothing, huh? Yeah. Okay. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki